For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level. This morning we shall dwell on the resurgence of the scourge. What do I mean by the scourge? COVID-19. It is back with us. There is a fourth wave. And from the angle of us as Nigerians, what are we going to do? What are we supposed to do? What are the feedbacks we are going to get? What are the helps and aids and assists we are going to get? And how do we move ahead from there? It's highly pertinent, because when it comes to a matter of life and death, we all should be interested, because you need to be alive to do most of those things you think you want to do in terms of your dreams, your aspirations, and what have you. So this morning, our State of the Nation brief is going to dwell on COVID-19 fourth wave. What now? I would like to give you some figures. As we speak, the figure from NCDC here in Nigeria on this fourth wave as at 21st of November says we've had 57 confirmed cases and 1 death. I am not a morbid person. I am not celebrating 1 death, but I am still saying 1 death in 200 million people is enough for us to give thanks to God. And why am I saying this? Right now, as we speak, in Europe, there is a serious spike in COVID-19, the fourth wave. Even some countries are moving into the fifth wave. And it is a situation that it has created even protests in some cities, like in Austria and in Germany and in the Netherlands. All encompassing, Europe is feeling the scourge of COVID-19 again. And you know what? That brings us to that element of we as Nigerians. There are a lot of us out there in diaspora, either in schools, universities, or maybe we live there, we reside there. You know, trust us, we're virtually everywhere. And this is the time we come home to come and say hello to our loved ones, to come and say, let me see what is happening in Nigeria. Let me go hug my father, my mother, my grandfather, my grandmother. So there is that element of travelers, fellow Nigerians coming back into Nigeria. Our diasporans coming back into Nigeria to say, okay, it's Yuletide season. Let me go spend the Yuletide season with my people, my relations, so that I can get attached to my roots once again. But as I speak, there is need for us to be careful. We had the first wave, we've had a second wave, we've had a third wave. This is a fourth wave. Let me refresh in your memory when we had the first wave. As at the first wave, it was incoming travelers that brought COVID here. The first suspect was an Italian. And the multiple suspects afterwards were fellow Nigerians who were coming back home for one reason or the other. How did we manage the influx back home of our fellow Nigerians? They have a right to come back home after all. How did we manage the influx? We managed it in a shoddy manner. I can remember most of our security architecture, our ports of entry were saying they cannot find the people that came into Nigeria. That is a shame. In this world of ICT, communication technology. I got talking to one of my sons. Even he's my grandson, really. He's a teenager. And he said, "Oh, Grandpa, they should be able to do better. If you pick up somebody's phone number, if you write me an address so that we can trail you, you give me your name, you give me a phone number. What does it cost them to make a call? If you give a phone number in Nigeria, oh, this is my brother, this is my mother here in Nigeria. There and then make a phone call to that person. Your phone will confirm who the person is, the address of the person, and then you can hang that incoming traveler on his relations out here. It is just as simple as that. That is what an average Nigerian can do. And I believe our security architecture has better ICT materials to use to track people. How come we didn't track them in the first wave? That was what gave us close to about 5,000 deaths in the first, second, third waves. What I'm calling that is, I want all our security architecture at points of entry to be up to speed. There is something I normally say, and that is, there is a trajectory of being nonchalant. The first one is being carefree. The second is being careless. And the third is being reckless. It takes, if you're not up to speed, you will go through that trajectory, carefree, careless, and reckless. Please don't let us be reckless. We need to save ourselves. We are thankful to God that God has given us something that is inherent in us, that is making us not to die in our numbers. I'm not saying the other people that are dying, I don't wish it for anybody. I don't wish death for anybody. But why I'm running inference to it was because when it started out, they were saying the population of the world that was close on 7 billion is too much, so there should be a reduction in numbers. And as at ab initio, they were wishing us in Africa to die some more. Unfortunately, we are not dying some more. They are doing the dying. I don't wish them bad, but since they are the smart ones, I pray they will be able to come up with enough vaccines and what have you to make sure that things get better. Now let me come back home and tell all the powers that be what bothers me. I am an intellect. I am a grandfather. I've been around before Nigeria was born. I am still here. There is something inherent in us that is making COVID not to get the best of us, because we don't even have anything. When it comes to vaccines, we beg for it. When it comes to medication, we beg for it. When it comes to what it is, we import it. And when our place, our position has given us that inherent stuff that makes us alive. If I were a medic at the onset of COVID, I would have gone into research, because what is it that is in us that is not making us die from COVID? There is something in us. As at this first wave, I gave you a data now, as at this first wave, we had 57 confirmed cases and 1 death. I had to run inferences to Europe. They are dying in their hundreds of thousands as we speak. And they have all the wherewithal. I revert back to what I said. It's high time we go back and do. When it comes to research, we should be able to do the researches ourselves. Our sons and daughters are making waves in the... Let me tell you this. 4% or close on 5% of all the medical personnel in the UK are Nigerians. Not to talk about the Americas. We are there. When it comes to funding, for God's sake, we have billions donated by Nigerians, donated by foreign bodies for COVID. There is COVID. You name it, we have it. The monies are there. Why can't we put together the intelligentsia, the brains, the people we have, the Nigerians that are out there that are smart enough to make sure we make this thing work out? I am very pertinent about that. It bothers me a little bit that we cannot use what we have to get what we want. I am sure if we can come up with the COVID vaccine based on the fact that we have the vaccine in us, in quote, we will become billionaires. They will come to us. They will come to us. Just the same way when Portugal was going out of business as a nation, some of them were leaving Portugal and going to Angola to become citizens of Angola. They can come here and learn from us. We are smart enough to go. Why don't we use it? Why are we screaming every day? The powers that be, I don't want to mention names here, but NCDC and all you are ministers in the Ministry of Health, and then maybe Lagos where we have a lot of it, and a few other states, why don't you put your heads together and see what we can do? The norm we are looking at here is, oh, we are looking for vaccines to produce. What are you producing? We are producing vaccines that haven't finished clinical trials. Why don't we go into a situation where we as a people, we're smart enough, I keep saying it, we as a people go ahead and make sure we get this thing done accordingly. I am appealing, and my appeal is on a strong side. To you, the powers that be, let us look inwards and use what we have to get what we want. And here and now, I would like to say this. In terms of the vaccines and in terms of telling my people what to do, there are basic rules about vaccine. The element of we reduce our element of touching, with maybe touching ourselves or touching railings and the rest of them, walls and this, let us keep to it. In terms of wearing our face mask, for God's sake, let us keep to it. In terms of social distancing, let us keep to it. And at the same time, while we are keeping to all these basic rules, I will advise, I still keep saying it, you the powers that be, please, please, and please look inwards. There is no country on earth, none, with all our ICT gadgets and our mentality these days. No country on earth has been fully vaccinated. If I come back home and give you the data, in Nigeria, let's say we are 200 million, we haven't even done 2%. 2% of us is 4 million Nigerians. We are on the ebb of 4 million Nigerians. And then with God on our side, we are still surviving. What is going on? So on a last note, to you the powers that be, without mentioning names, for God's sake, look inwards. Bring in researchers and research on us what is making us survive COVID. I'm sure they will come here to beg us when we make that breakthrough. But we, as a nation, as a people, we have to make the first step.